It is critical to your success that you watch this video before Monday or Tuesday when the core rules of 11th edition drop. Guys, I'm a top 100 player in the world and a full-time 40K coach. Now, in my past career, I taught postgraduate neurology, and one thing I can guarantee you is that when we organize complex learning correctly, you will maximize competency and retention. So today, I'm going to teach you how to learn 11th edition masterfully and rapidly. Do not make the mistake of learning it the wrong freaking way. I know people who, after 3 years of playing in 10th edition, still don't understand how cover rules work, and they still get confused by it in tournaments. So our goal is to make sure that the rules for 11th edition are no longer new or surprising after about a month. Don't worry, guys. The gameplay, list building, flavor, all that stuff, it's all still going to stay new and novel for a very long time, but not the rules. We actually don't want the new rules to feel new. This is how we are going to get ahead. And trust me, it is always better to maintain a head start in competition than to try to play catch up from behind, specifically in competitive 40K. So let's dive into how we're going to learn freaking 11th edition before you even get the rules. If you do this video, my gosh, you're going to have such a head start. And this is going to be a quick 10 minutes. Let's just do it. Let's just do it. So most players are automatically going to be learning 11th the wrong freaking way. They're going to do a couple things. They're going to start off by watching YouTube. They're going to watch my review, or Art of Wars reviews, or Tabletop Tactics reviews. And listen, all these guys are great. We're all going to do a fantastic job teaching it. But doing that first, learning someone else's summary of the rules first, big problem. Or they're going to go on Discord, they're going to go on Reddit. And while these are really good resources, it's a really bad place to start because you're going to start with false premises or false interpretations. Basically, people just want to outsource their brain when it comes to learning the rules, and that is a big freaking mistake. So that's not where we're going to start, all right? We're going to start reading the actual rules. Now, the next thing we're going to do is I'm going to identify another of the biggest problems that people do, and then I'm going to give you the step-by-step 3-pass rule, which is the exact framework for how you're going to do this. So, before we do that, though, forget freaking intent. This is one that I hear all the time. People are saying, oh, well, the intent of this rule is clear, that this is how it works. No, it's not. The intent's not freaking clear. You're not Games Workshop. You didn't write these rules. You don't know what the intent is. You can say you know what the intent is, but you're wrong. You don't know the intent. I don't know the intent. No one other than the rules writers themselves know the freaking intent. So when you're reading these rules, stop reading it with the concept of intent and start understanding that what the rules say is what matters. If there's an error in it and it's being played wrong, the rules writers will correct it. But as is, the way the rules are, that's how the rules work. If there's problems in the rules on release, which there might be a few, tournament organizers will correct that in their player packs. But if you're playing competitive 40K, if you're playing casual, do whatever you want. I mean, just have fun. Enjoy your life. That's the whole point. Competitive 40K, if you want to have fun in competitive 40K, you really need to make sure you know what the rules say, not necessarily what the intent is. So don't interpret it. Don't infer things that aren't there. Read the rule. Read it again. What does it actually say? This is what we're trying to accomplish. Look for the keywords, all these things. So forget the intent of the rules that you're reading. Just read what the freaking rules say. Now, here is your step-by-step framework. I'm going to go into detail here of how this all works, but it's really actually not that complicated. So step number 1, read the rules cold. I can't tell you how many people just never read the rules for 10th edition. Don't be that guy. Cover to cover, no notes, no freaking Googling. You're just going to read the rules with a neutral opinion. You're not going to have any outside influences. And as soon as you're done reading those rules, we're going to have you review it with a trusted source. Now, the review, that's where you can get on my video review that I'll have out this week for sure, or Art of Wars video review, or whoever's video review. Honestly, you're probably going to do a bunch of them, and that's smart too. Get different perspectives on it, but only get those perspectives after you read the rules. I know in my with my personal clients, I'll be going with this one-on-one with every single one of them this coming week because we got to make sure that everyone understands all these rules really, really well. Now, number 2, the next step. That's number 1. Read cold, review with a professional guidance. The number 2 step, immediately play a game. And while you're playing the game, you must be looking up the rules for the individual scenarios that you're playing. Now, I'm not saying you have to look up every single rule. Like, most of you are going to be able to understand how movement works or how the charging works after one read. But when there's a little bit of confusion or any problem with that, physically look up the rules. Don't ask someone for the answer. Don't ask a more experienced guy in the club how it works. read the actual rule and see what the rule says and how it applies to your scenario. This is the next step that we're going to go. And then lastly, it's the end of the week reread. Now, let's break these down and why it's so important you don't skip a freaking step. If you don't skip a step, and let me explain why right freaking now. Cover to cover, this is step one. This is when we're going to read it cold and when we're going to go guided. All right. So the goal of the cold read is simply exposure. This is what I do with my freaking doctors, and this is what I do with my physical therapists and everyone who's coming in for neurology courses. So if I'm out in Amsterdam and I'm teaching the neurology of pain, I'm going to give them what we call a flipped classroom. Now, I'm calling it the 3-pass rule here because it's fancier for 40K, but it's called a flipped classroom. Here are your research papers. You're going to read the papers without outside influence. Just get what you get out of it. It doesn't matter if you retain very much of it. I just want the words in your head. And then they come to the class, and I will teach them the material. During this time, when I teach them the material, what happens is there's going to be conflict in their brain because they're going to be remembering what they read, but it's going to be, some of it will be great, but some of it will be in conflict to what they're hearing from me, which is going to create this area of confusion in their brain that when they resolve it by recognizing, oh, the instructor is correct, here's why it's correct during instruction, that conflict resolution in the brain is going to create much more, what fancy word would be, plasticity or long-term changes in the brain. As far as you guys need to know, it just means that you're going to learn it much better when you have a cold read and then are immediately instructed on it. The next step to this, if we are, say, in a neurology class, is I'm going to do a practical application. We're going to do a practical workshop. Now, for 40K, that practical workshop is going to be the game that you are going to play. In this practical workshop, when I'm teaching, my postgrads, they'll be forced to reference the research papers that they were supposed to read pre-class and then after our instruction in order to complete the practical application. So for you, when you're playing your game and something happens and we're like, hey, do I just have to toe into the terrain to see, or do I have to be wholly within the terrain? When you go physically look that up, that is problem solving that is actually going to be applied to the specific scenario, which increases specificity and how much it actually matters to you. Your brain latches onto that information way more when it practically applies to you immediately. This is going to help create that long-term plasticity or that superior learning that we're talking. When you're playing this game, do not guess. If you know it, that's fine, but if you're not certain, look this one up. This is the time that's really important that you spend the extra 5 minutes just to read the freaking rule while you're playing the game. I recommend that for your first game or two, and don't get me wrong, don't worry about it. We're going to get you guys the first game as soon as we have those core rules. We'll have it that week up for you guys so you guys can kind of watch how Shetzel and I will play a match and go through this process. Probably next Friday for a live stream, assuming we get the rules on Monday or Tuesday. But so do not guess. We're going to actually look up the physical rule. And you might actually see us do this while we play the game on Friday to make sure that we grasp the concept good, because that's how it's really going to get ingrained in your brain. And then the last step to this process is you read it again. This is the time where the information is going to stick. You read it once when it was cold. Then you kind of read it again when you were being instructed upon it. That's going to be with me as your coach, or just one of the videos that we're going to have out, or any even Discord conversations and stuff. But then you're going to be reading it guided, right? So we're creating conflict between when you're guided and when you were unguided. That creates brain plasticity. Then you're looking up with your direct problem solving in your practical application or your game. And then the third time is you're fully reading through the rules again, and you're going to catch little things that you missed the first 2-3 times. This is how we're going to long-term cement information immediately. You're going to have 80 to 90% rules retention in just 1 week if you follow these steps. I would recommend adding a third reading and then a fourth and a fifth every 2 weeks for the next month and a half. Guys, remember, this doesn't take anywhere near as long as you might think. Reading the rules takes 15 minutes. That's it. It's a 15-minute read. Now, if you're trying to dissect every single word, sure, it could take a lot longer than that, but we're never dissecting it. The first initial read is you just read it. Guidance, you're going to get maybe a little more dissected when you're getting guided on it. Then in the game, you're going to dissect individual passages. And then in your review of it again, you're not dissecting it, you're just reading it again. But now the information comes so much more smoothly. Trust me, when students of mine do this, they become incredible physicians and they get significantly better results in the clinic. You will get significantly better results in 40K if you follow this exact thought process. So, guys, independence on the table starts with owning the rules. If you want to know how top players are able to consistently be crushing the game, it's because they understand the way the rules interact with each other because they know the freaking rules. There's no confusion on it. This is one of the biggest things that helps you become a more skillful player. And the beauty is that you could basically do all of this on your own. If you want a little bit more help, I'm here for you. I'm happy to give you the private attention if you want it in order to help you out with this. But this is stuff that you can do on your own to improve your gameplay immediately. So players who are messing this up are going to be relying on community consensus. They're not going to be able to, like, people who don't really know the rules, they're not going to be able to come up with their own things because they're not going to understand how everything kind of works together. It's a big problem. These are the people who are going to get trapped in false metas where they hear some YouTuber say something that is just, it's not really accurate, but they get it stuck in their head and then they put false limitations on their own ability to be successful. But players who read the rules and who know the rules, these guys get to verify whether something's actually good or it just sounds good, and they're making their own decisions. If you want to know how to build counter meta and build your cool, flavorful lists that still work extremely well on the tabletop, even though they're not like the meta list, these are the people who understand the way the rules work. So be that person. Bring your own personal flavor to 40K. So guys, 3 passes. It's 1 week. You're going to be ahead of 80% of people. You're going to have a massive amount of retention. I highly recommend over the next few weeks, you just read it 2, even 3 more times. Remember, 15 minutes a time. It's not that long to read through the rules. This is how you become a master of 11th edition. And you master the rules within the first month. Do not let the rules be new to you in month 9. Do not have a failure to understand cover 3 years after the edition releases, which a lot of people have done for 10th edition. If you guys want to go deeper, you want one-on-one coaching, the link is in the description down below. I am pretty much full on clients, so there are very limited spots available right now, but I would be happy to work with you if you want to reach out. So guys, hit the like, subscribe, share it with your friends. This is Learning Theory applied to Warhammer 40K. Crump on. Bye-bye.